Hello and welcome to Motivated Learning, presented by Vision Learning Solutions. I'm your host, Buddy Broyles. Motivated Learning is a program created for the education and learning design community to raise awareness about the people and the reason for quality professional educational training. I'm excited to continue Season 2 with Episode 6, which is available on both LinkedIn and our live Facebook page for Visual Learning Solutions. Today, I'm proud to welcome Rance Green to the show. His methodology of story design gives talent development professionals a creative way for discovering who their audience is and how to persuade them to take action on new ideas. He coaches, teaches, speaks, and writes often on the benefits of stories to connect people to one another. Welcome to the show, Rance. How are you today, sir?
Thank you so much, buddy. It's great to be here.
Well, as I start off every show, we want to get to know you. So tell everybody a little bit about you and your history. How did you get to where you are now?
Sure. So I have a background in theater, and I have a degree in acting, and then I have a master's in choreography, and moved to New York City and did both of those things. And the experience that I gained from being involved in the creative process for so many years, and then coming into the corporate space and bringing all of that with me, it was a delight to be able to come into a talent development role where I was overseeing a large company's training and making that training story-based. And in particular, it was compliance training. So if you can imagine the fun of compliance training, and
The many joys.
that's how
Yes.
I bring all of that stuff with me into the training space, and that's in a roundabout way how I got here.
Well, as long as I've known you, and I've known you for some time, you've been one of the people who has been, raising the flag that stories matter. Telling us a good story matters, especially in the difficult topics like you mentioned, some of the stuff that is compliance, that is just the checkbox training. They need to check the box and get through it. Talk to me about, how you approach some of those, like especially the compliance training. What was your methodology for
Sure.
approaching that?
Sure. So story design is my methodology, and I love it because it starts right where the instructional designer is. It's using the information that they have collected as an instructional designer and using those raw materials to create a story for training. And my model for story design is very simple. If you think about, buddy, if you think about stories, and you think about like your favorite story, like what are the things about that story that make it a story? What are the elements of that story? What would you say some of the story elements are?
Someone having a problem and trying to solve it and involving the
Yeah,
community to do so.
yeah. So you mentioned a few things there. Someone, and that person has a problem and they're trying to overcome it. So I take that's a great way to summarize it. So I take the two essential elements for a story for training must include relatable characters and strong conflict. And you mentioned a problem, so that's what I call conflict.
Yes.
Um, the relatable character, I say relatable because that the character that you create has to be someone that your learner has some empathy for. And the way that you are able to get to know who your audience is so that you can create a relatable character is create an audience profile. And
Mm.
I answer, a short profile list of questions about any new audience that I'm training for, designing a story for, presenting to. Anytime I'm with a new audience, I want to know who those people are so that I can make sure my story is really going to resonate with them. And then the second thing is strong conflict. And that strong conflict, I say the word strong because, first of all, I want to make a point that conflict is needed. Secondly, that conflict should be as strong as possible because it's that conflict that produces an emotional response in us that is going to make that story memorable for us. You put those two things together, relatable characters and strong conflict, and boom, you've created within your learner this desire for resolution. They want to see resolution. And once you've got that desire sparked, which is where your learner wants to be and where we want them to be as well, then that's when the training comes in. And that's what concretely connects your story to the training. And so in a compliance situation, one of the key components, especially for training, for compliance training, is that work with your subject matter expert to make sure that you're drilling down to observable actions. Because compliance folks, they like to stay way up here and say, well, they just need to be aware of our policies. They just need to know this. They need to understand this. And so I would say, as a designer, come back with, okay, what does a person do when they are aware of this policy? And then list observable actions that your audience should take as a result of training. And that action list is going to be your source for conflict. That's where you're going to put your relatable characters into strong conflict with these actions, and then you've got this tailor-made story. And so it works for compliance. If you are willing to drill down to those observable actions, it works for any training.
Well, and just to follow up, the story I had in my head is a story I read as a kid called Stone Soup. And it's about, I believe, two soldiers that basically didn't have any food as they approached a village. That's their problem, is they're starving. So they picked up a rock, shined it, and then went in and tried to sell everybody on, this is the key ingredient, but we'll need a few more things, and convince the entire village to contribute. Before you know it, they had a feast, a big pot full of wonderful foods. At the very bottom was a stone that they had found. And so they served everybody, including themselves. So speaking of serving everybody, we have the learners. We have the whole ecosystem of the people, including for compliance training, for insurance and all of those other things. But let's talk about leadership. From the higher ups, the people who are funding and trying to decide on how they approach their training. How do leaders benefit from story design?
Well, I would say, first of all, they benefit as recipients of training that is story-based. Right. But I'm glad you brought up leadership, because I have another audience that sometimes are talent development people, but sometimes they're just leadership groups, and they want to get better at communicating. So if you think about the reasons why we communicate at work, why we talk, it's probably either to connect with people, inspire them, guide them, or persuade them. And think about those things, buddy. Think about connecting, inspiring, guiding, and persuading. Like, this is why we talk at work. What else is really good at those things? I would argue that story is very good at all four of those things. And so if a leader can craft a story that will connect me with you, if I'm a leader and I can connect with you through a story, if I can inspire you in some way, if I can guide you, or if I can persuade you, then I'm going to be that much better of a communicator and that much better of a leader. So stories and leadership, boom, they go hand in hand. I just had a meeting this morning with a small group of leaders. I'm doing a leadership storytelling cohort, small group, and each one of them has a different message that they're trying to communicate. Each one of them has a specific story that they are developing, and at the end, they will deliver that story to the rest of the group. And I'm just thrilled to watch these folks grow and blossom into wonderful, even better communicators than they are right now. So it's been great.
What a terrific opportunity. So, you're involved in these groups. Of course, you have a speaking. You're regularly speaking at different events. I believe you attended. I saw that you attended ATD National recently. Are very active, and former president of our local ATD chapter here in Dallas. Let's talk about what's important to you, because you're doing so much for the community, for yourself, for your customers, for the learners. What motivates you? What's the thing that drives you to continue to excel and help people with story-based training?
That's a great question. I think that what is at the core of why I do things is I I enjoy very much connecting people. I enjoy connecting people to each other, and I enjoy connecting with them personally. And just stories are a great way to do that. In fact, somebody recently asked me, what kind of mindset should I have when I'm going about storytelling? And I said, you should be in a listening mindset. That is the reason why we tell stories, because I tell you my story in hopes that you will reciprocate and tell me yours. And when we have that trust with one another and share those stories with one another, then we have um, this this connection, right, through the storytelling. So I say, have a mindset of listening. I'm going to tell you my story, yeah, but the reason I'm telling is because I want to hear yours. And
Right.
I think that's true in training as well. We tell stories in training to give them an opportunity to reflect on the story and then share their observations, share their insights, and problem solve based on
Yeah.
the story. We give
That's
them a chance to speak to us. Yeah.
Yeah. Rather than waiting on their opportunity just to speak, it's the active listening that really matters, or just listening at all. Not just hearing but listening. So
Yes.
if they want to continue the conversation with you, Rance, we're going to put your social media up there. What are the best ways to reach you? You have some options here.
Yeah, I would say first go to www.needastory.com. That's my website. And when you go there, if you're interested in learning more about how to become a better storyteller as a talent development professional, click on Train with Stories. If you're interested in becoming a better storyteller as a leader, click on Lead with Stories. And if you're interested in getting help telling your business story, then click on Tell Your Business Story.
Gotcha.
And that will get you to the right places. And I would say scroll down a little bit further and see some exciting news, and that is the opening of the School of Story Design. And that is coming up in 2022, near the beginning of the year, probably about second quarter. And we're going to have courses available, some of it self-paced, but also some of it kind of cohort style, where I'll be coming live,
Terrific.
and we'll also have some coaches on hand to give feedback on assignments and such.
That
So if
sounds
you're
like a lot of
interested in
fun.
becoming a better storyteller, that School of Story Design is going to be open very soon. Very excited about that.
That's wonderful. I'm excited about that. Any To wrap up, Rance, any comments or advice, perhaps advice you would have given yourself when you were younger with all the knowledge you have, or especially as you've seen, a lot of people are entering the learning and development community, former teachers or other people transitioning. What advice would you give them?
Yeah, there are a lot, aren't there, buddy? I mean, it's
Yes.
massive. So I guess I would say two things. Um, so if I could have gone back and talked to my younger self, I would have said, go ahead and embrace what you're really good at. And because what I brought to this world of talent development was unique to me. I was good at telling stories. Other people are good at it too, but I had this kind of unique way of helping others become better storytellers. So if you've got something that you're really kind of crazy about, like technology, or it doesn't really matter. If you love running the LMS, if you like to consult, if you love that part of it, really dig in deeply and fine tune your approach to that, because you have something to offer the rest of us that maybe we don't have quite yet. And then secondly, I would say, if you're considering story design as an option, first of all, just get to know your audience, get to know your learners, spend some time just asking, who are these people? What are their current circumstances at work? How are they dealing with those circumstances? What do they fear? What do they value? What do they do in their spare time? Excuse me, in their spare time? and just, get to know them. And then secondly, drill down to observable actions. Just doing those two things, finding out who is your audience and what do you want them to do, will set you up for success for instructional design, and is definitely going to get you started on the right foot if you want to create stories for your training.
Well, that's terrific. Thank you, Rance. Really enjoyed having you on the show, and I hope to get to attend some of your classes and then see you, around town in the near future.
Yes, seeing one another would be so nice, buddy.
Yes, it's a luxury now. It absolutely is. Well, again,
is.
thanks for joining us, Rance.
Thank you, buddy. Great to be here.
You bet. We'll see you soon. And for the rest of you, please reach out if you have any questions about this show using the social media available to you on your screen. You can reach us, of course, on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on LinkedIn. Feel free to give us a phone call, and also email us at any time at info@visuallearningsolutions.com. We provide services such as instructional design, e-learning, instructional course development, and so much more, including video production both here in our studio and out in the field, such as your corporate location or event center. Also, if you wish to host a show similar to this one, I know I make it look easy, but we can help, from developing the concept to set and show design, along with full production and marketing of your product. Thanks again for watching, and we hope you will tune in or even consider joining me as a guest on a future program of Motivated Learning. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.